The Hollow. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the undulating hills of Eldermoor. The village, cradled in the fold of the land, was a place where tales of mystery and dread thrived like the wildflowers that adorn the meadows in spring. But as the seasons darkened, so did the stories. They oft spoke of the Hollow, a forest renowned for its sinister beauty. Thick with ancient trees and tangled underbrush, it stood as a silent sentinel, guarding secrets best left undisturbed. The Hollow had always held a certain allure for the brave-hearted and the foolish, but it was the whispers, soft, beckoning, haunting, that drew the unwary. Many ventured in, inspired by tales of adventure or perhaps the thrill of the unknown, but seldom did they return, or if they did, they were not the same. The village elders spoke in hushed voices of things that lurked beyond the trees, things that could steal the soul and twist the mind. It was an autumn evening when young Thomas, a boy of 17, resolved to unearth the truth behind the legends of the Hollow. Unlike the others, who were swayed by the thrill of the unknown, Thomas was driven by a deep-seated curiosity fueled by the tales shared around the fire. His grandmother had often spoken of a time when the forest had been alive with laughter and light, before it fell into shadow and silence. He yearned to see it for himself, to revel in its beauty, even if that beauty was dark and unyielding. With a backpack filled with supplies and a flickering lantern, Thomas made his way through the village streets. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves, offering a heavy reminder of the autumn days that lay ahead. As he reached the edge of the Hollow, a shiver crawled up his spine. The trees loomed like gnarled sentinels, their branches intertwining like accusing fingers. Just a little further, he whispered to himself, steeling his resolve. He stepped into the forest, the light from his lantern dancing against the oppressive darkness. Shadows stretched and twisted, and he could feel the air grow thicker with each step. The ground beneath his feet was uneven, littered with roots and rocks that seemed to grasp at his ankles. As minutes trickled by, he stumbled deeper into the heart of the Hollow. The silence was deafening, punctuated only by the distant rustle of leaves and the occasional hoot of an owl. Just as he began to think of turning back, a soft whisper echoed through the trees. "Thomas." His breath caught in his throat. The voice was familiar, tender yet eerily hollow. It called his name again, a siren song that twisted around his senses. It sounded like his grandmother, but he remembered that she had passed away last winter. He shook his head, dismissing the thought, and pressed on. "Thomas, come find me." With each step, the whispers grew louder, weaving in and out of the rustling leaves. Curiosity getting the better of him, Thomas turned a corner and came upon a glade, bathed in a ghostly light. There, at its heart, lay an ancient stone altar, covered in moss and illuminated by an unnatural glow. The whispers rose to a crescendo, swirling around him like a tempest. "Help me, save me." His heart raced. He approached the altar, compelled by an unseen force. Within its stone embrace lay what appeared to be a delicate, porcelain doll, cracked and chipped but strangely haunting in its beauty. Its eyes glimmered with a familiar sparkle, and he could not shake the sensation that he had seen this doll before. "Is it you?" he breathed, reaching out tentatively. As his fingers brushed against the porcelain, a sharp chill shot through him, and the air crackled with energy. The whispers swirled faster, now merging into a chorus of anguished cries. The trees shifted, their branches twisting in unnatural angles, creating grotesque shapes that seemed to leer at him. Panic surged through his veins. "Let her go!" Thomas shouted, pulling his hand away from the doll. The moment he did, the world seemed to shatter around him. The glade morphed, the trees bending and twisting, and the landscape blurred, revealing glimpses of a nightmarish realm where shadows danced and figures flickered just beyond his vision. The whispers turned to shrieks, angry and mournful, pressing in on him from all sides. "Leave this place," came a voice that seemed to rip through the very fabric of reality. "You mustn't linger." Terrified, Thomas turned to flee, but the forest felt alive, its roots and branches intertwining with his very being, rooting him to the spot. He stumbled backward, searching for the way he came, but every direction looked the same, each path leading further into the chaos. In that moment of despair, a memory flickered in his mind. his grandmother's stories of light breaking through darkness, of love triumphing over fear. "You have to believe," she had said, "in the light within you." With newfound determination, Thomas closed his eyes and willed himself to focus. "I am not afraid," he cried out, his voice rising above the cacophony. "I seek the truth." The air tingled with tension, and for a heartbeat, time seemed to freeze. Slowly, the whispers began to recede, and the light from the altar grew warmer, casting a soothing glow throughout the glade. The horror receded, the figures of anguish fading into the shadows. "Help her," came the voice again, softer now, filled with sorrow. "Break the curse." When Thomas opened his eyes, he felt an otherworldly energy surging through him, compelling him toward the altar once more. With a leap of faith, he grasped the doll in his hands, holding it close to his heart. The moment he did, the earth trembled beneath his feet, and the very essence of the hollow shuddered, the shadows coiling in on themselves like whispers in the wind. Suddenly, the surrounding darkness crumbled, revealing a radiant light that enveloped him. It spilled forth from the doll, and in that moment, he understood, this was not a soul trapped in torment, but a soul yearning for release, bound by the sorrow of ages. "Let her go," he shouted again, his voice loud and clear. With a flash that rivaled the sun, the light erupted from the doll, scattering the shadows like fallen leaves in a storm. The forest exhaled, the oppressive weight lifting as the howls of despair transformed into soft, grateful sighs. The trees straightened, their gnarled forms returning to their natural grace. The glade, once a haunting echo of sorrow, blossomed with vibrant life. Flowers burst forth, their colors radiant against the green, and the sun's rays pierced through the canopy above, casting a golden glow. In that moment, Thomas understood that he had not just discovered the forest's secret, he had set it free. As he emerged from the hollow, the village greeted him with wide eyes, for he had returned, not as the boy who had ventured in, but as a bearer of light. His heart swelled with a sense of purpose, knowing that the forest no longer whispered of fear but sang of hope. The hollow remained, still the realm of ancient shadows, but now it resonated with the soft hum of peace. Thomas had learned that even in the darkest places, one could find the light, and that the whispers of the hollow could lead to salvation. And in that realization, he forged a new tale, one that would echo through the ages, guiding others toward the light that lay just beyond the shadows.